And welcome back to the shop. This video is going to be on the piston wristpin CirClip. These little boogers right here. We're going to discuss how to get them in and out, which way you should angle them when you put them in. This video was suggested from Mel Ray. He followed one of my videos on the FC250, I believe it was, to do a top end. He said everything went perfect, but he had a CirClip come out. And he requested that I did a video focusing on the CirClips. So I have a whole bunch of stuff, a motor right there on 125, several pistons, all kinds of junk up here. And yeah, let's talk about CirClips a little bit. Now if you're watching this video, I'm sure you already know what a CirClip is, so I don't think I have to go through explaining all that. But we have several pistons here that we can use as an example. Years ago, I had a CirClip come out on an RM125, and it did a lot of damage. It got caught between one of the transfer ports and the piston, and it just tore things up. I believe I was trying, I was really broke back then, and I was just trying to do whatever it took to get another weekend of riding in, and I think I reused the CirClip. So that's going to be my tip number one, is don't reuse these things, one time only. If you're really careful, you can get them out without damaging them, and I'll show you how. So if you really had to, but in most cases, if you get them out wrong, you pinch them up, you bend them, they're not going to stay in as well if you reuse them. In most of my videos where I'm doing a top end, I do quickly show you how I put these things in and out, but I'm making this video we're just going to focus on this a little bit, specifically on the CirClips. Now I will say there are several different types of CirClips, and we're mainly focusing on these normal, I don't even know what you would call them. These are your more common ones. Some of the older Yamahas, they used to use this as a piston CirClip, and some of the KTMs actually have one that there's a spot where the metal curves right here and shoots towards the middle, and then there's a little hole in the piston that you first put that spot in first before you put the CirClip in. We're going to throw that off to the corner because we're focusing on these in this video. Now I will say it's always wise to always start with a new CirClip. You don't want to reuse these. You can reuse them if you really know how to get them out gently and you had to, and I'm going to show you how to do that, but it's good practice to just never reuse them. In the old days, they used to always tell us to put the open end of the CirClip either faced up. Let me use this piston, you can probably see it better, either faced up or face down, the open end of the CirClip. And the idea behind that is when the piston's moving up and down real quick, if you had the open end on one of the sides, either this side or that side, well, because of the inertia of it going up and down, it could allow the CirClip to kind of pinch in and maybe jump out of its seat. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I have had CirClips jump out before in the old days. I had an RM125 that the CirClip jumped out and it stuck halfway in between the piston and one of the transfer ports on the cylinder and completely just trashed that cylinder. So I used to sit there and try to put it faced up or face down, but one of the things I noticed is they never stay where you put them. If you put it faced up, they will move on you. A lot of the bikes that I work on for people and my own bikes, I will put a CirClip in, and I'll either have it faced up or face down. And back when I used to do it like that, and when I would go to do the top end later on, I'd find it shifted. Either shifted to this position or that position or even right here. They don't stay put. They kind of move around a little bit. So, yeah, I guess if it makes you feel better to start with it up top, go ahead. But you can't really expect it to stay there. It's probably going to move around. And because of that, I don't think it matters which position you put the CirClip, because it's most likely going to move around. And the good news is these days CirClips are pretty robustly built. They're pretty strong. I don't see a CirClip ever jump out of its seat anymore. As long as it's in there properly, it stays in its seat. The only time I run into CirClips that have jumped out is typically when people stress the CirClip out too much trying to get it in, and they actually bent it a little bit and took some of its tension away when they were trying to get it in, or they reused the CirClip, or they just failed to get it in completely and it just kind of made its way on out. Now I have both the 4-stroke piston and a 2-stroke piston here, but it's the same thing for both of them. I do have a whole motor here. RM 125 motor. Now this thing is beat. I gotta tell you, it's in bad shape. I had a customer of mine who was dropping off a bike, and he said his friend's been asking him to drop this motor off next time he came by. They dropped it off. I looked it over, gave him an estimate, and never heard back from the guy. So I got a hold of the guy that dropped it off, and he said, just keep it, man. I don't think this guy's really interested in fixing it. I think it's just all talk. So this motor's just been sitting around here. That's why it looks so dirty and looks so nasty. But anyway, this will make a good example for us. So let me get it better on camera and we'll scoot along. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove this Circlip. Now I purposely set this Circlip in here where the open end of the Circlip is matched up with this little cutout on the piston. And I did that on purpose to show you that sometimes they can fall into that position. And if they fall into that position, the first thing you're going to need to do is use a small flathead or something and try to spin the Circlip in there. Let's see. There we go. You don't have to go far. You see, I just went a little bit there, just far enough that you can get something underneath it. Now, a good pick works really good to get these things out. You can just use a pick, get underneath there, and pop that sucker right on out of there, nice and gently. I myself like to use some really small needle nose pliers. These things are getting a little bit old and tired, but they still work. I need to get some new ones. And main reason why is I can use it like a pick right here to get underneath it, just like that. But then I can grab it once I get it so it doesn't fling off. These things are getting old and tired, so hopefully they don't fling off. So let's see. There we go. I got it out of there. Okay, I put it back in there to show you that if you only had a pick and you had to use a pick, same thing. You get underneath it. There you go. And then what I'll do is I'll set my finger or something right here as I swivel the pick up like this and pull the Circlip out, because I don't want it to go flinging off. There it is. Now if you pull them out like that, in most cases you're not going to deform the Circlip any. It's still going to be in its original position. Yes, if you compare it to a new Circlip of the same model, the exact same part number Circlip, you'll notice that the gap on the used Circlip is less, and the new one's going to be sitting a little bit more extended open. But we retained the shape of this, and if it had to be reused, it could be. I'm not suggesting it, but I do always suggest pulling them out in this fashion, though, just because it's good practice. It doesn't damage the Circlip. From here, I would not be so concerned about removing the other Circlip. It can stay in the piston. I'll just take a small punch and lightly tap the wrist pin through. There you go. Love taps, because you are using the rod here to hold everything stationary. So you want to do love taps. They do sell wrist pin pushing tools if you really are not comfortable tapping it. But honestly, I've been doing this for years. As long as they're really light taps using a light hammer, you just love tapping it. And this one, I got to be honest with you, came out a little bit stiffer than usual, because look at the top of this piston. This lower rod bearing is just shot all kinds of crap up here, and look, I can't even look. That wrist pin is stuck in the piston. It's in bad shape. They typically, look at that. Typically they come out a lot easier than that, but that's how you get it out. Okay, so when I'm installing a new piston, just imagine this was a brand new piston. The first thing I do is put one Circlip in the piston before I even put it on the motor, and I figure out which Circlip is going to be easiest to access when I get the piston on the motor while it's on the bike. If I'm doing, if I'm doing the top end while the motor's still on the bike, I want to figure out which side is easier. So this is a YZ252 stroke. Let's see, the exhaust is on this side. If I wanted to put the wrist pin in on the side that the power valve rod is at, the actuator rod on the right side of the motor, then I'm going to put the first Circlip on the left side. So what I'll do is I'll put the wrist pin in the piston while it's on the bench, and I'll put one finger on this side holding it from sliding through. I'll kind of line it up to the Circlip groove right there that the Circlip's supposed to slide into, and I'll hold it there with my finger on the back side, keep it from sliding through. Now I take the Circlip here, and on the open end, and it's going to be the same again, 4-stroke, 2-stroke, doesn't matter. Got some hair stuck to it. Okay, I got my finger on that side. I take the opening and watch how I do this. I don't really know how to explain it, but I can show you. Just like that. You see how it's in the seat right here, but it's all touching that back wall of the seat, and it's pushed in right there, but it's coming out on this side. So I'll use this finger to hold the wrist pin down, use the other finger, to hold the circlip down, use the other finger to hold the wrist pin in, and then I'll take a small flathead and I walk it in, starting right here where it's in already a little bit, and I'll press in with this finger and I walk it in. I just slide it inward. Oh, it started to go in and popped out there. Start back down here again. There we go. You got to kind of press it in with this thumb right here to help it. There it is. Then I'll take a look at the circlip and see if it's centered with that groove. It's a little off, you can see right there. So I'll take a flathead and just slide it over. You don't have to. It's just something I do. There we go. I feel better knowing that the whole circlip is in the seat. Yes, it might move a little bit. It might move a little bit down the road, but you know, that's where I started out as. There we go. We got one circlip in there on the new piston on the bench, and so then I'll take the wrist pin out of the piston, and then I'll take the new piston to the bike and put it on the bike. Alright, now let's pretend that this was that brand new YZ250 piston that I just put one circlip in on this side. I went ahead and put the wrist pin in on this side, holding the piston in place. We don't have to worry about the wrist pin sliding out the other side anymore because we have the circlip on that side. Now all we need to do now is get the circlip in on this side, and I'm going to do it the same way I did the first circlip on the YZ250 just a second ago. The same exact way. I'm going to start with that open end of the circlip. So you can see I have the open end of the circlip resting. Well, let me get something sharper to point at right here on the inside of that inside wall. The open end of the circlip's right here. So this thumb's going to push the circlip back in there, just like that. I'm going to forcefully hold it there the best I can. And then I'll use this flathead and I'll just press it down and walk around as I press it down. There it is, simple as that. And then I line it up. As you see, I just lined up the open end to that open end there, and that's how I put my circlips in. It's super easy. It doesn't damage them. I do know nowadays they do sell tools to do this, but you don't need all that stuff. I mean, you can use it. You can buy it if you want. I've never tried one myself. I don't have a problem doing it like this. And lastly, after you have the piston on the motor, before you slide that cylinder on, always visually verify. I like to take something to point with, to feel it, and just visually verify that that circlip is in a seat all the way around. And do that on both sides. I know you did this side on the bench. We just did this side on the bench, right? I still double check it. You don't want one of them things popping out of their seat. So as long as it's all the way in its seat on both sides, and you put it in the fashion that I just showed you, meaning you didn't deform the circlip, it's not going to come out. Don't worry. And this is how I do it. Just because this is how I do it doesn't mean this is the only way you should do it. This is just how I do it and how it works for me, and I've had good luck doing it like this for years. There are other ways of getting circlips in and out of there that work just as well and just as fine. This is just how I've done it, and it's been good. But one thing I will caution you on is try not to damage the piston when you're putting the circlip in and out. Be gentle. Try not to let the flathead slip and slide across the side of the piston or anything. Be real gentle. I like to always only push on the flathead once I have it in the hole here and on top of the circlip. So if there are any scratches, it's going to be up in here. But another thing too is you don't want to damage the groove that the circlip sits in. So, you know, once the circlip's in there, it's okay to move the circlip around right here. You know, because you can kind of get underneath the edge of it and move it. But if your open end ends up all the way over here, it's probably best just to leave it there. Don't sit there and try to stick a flathead in it and swivel it all over here, because you'll probably scratch that groove and remove some material and from the groove that Circlip sits in. You don't want to damage it, you don't want to scratch it, you don't want to deform it. You want to keep it the way it is when the piston came right out the box, because that's going to give that Circlip the best fighting chance of staying in its seat. And it's basically 5 p.m. I just had to put a new sprocket on my YZ250. I'm taking this out Sunday. Reason being, this sprocket's not too bad. I mean, it had a little bit of life left on it, but heck, man, one tooth broke right here. I don't think it was from being too thin. It had to be from a rock or a piece of mulch on the track or something. So I had to stick a new sprocket on it. That's ready for the weekend. Gonna take that out to Tampa MX this weekend. It's gonna go out there on Sunday. I hope all you guys have a great weekend of riding, wherever you're at. Appreciate you watching these videos, and catch you next time.